mentioned my book, The Burst Bubble, which
Yes.
you can refer back to. You can actually get it from Amazon, Pacific Press, and they even have a Kindle version, option too. So there are more detailed information in the book that you can reference later on in terms of application, the specific tools. But let me share with you a few key components.
Okay,
Why?
just on that note, Jose, I'm going to ask that you would make note of that book and then make that information available to our members so anyone who would like to follow up on that book can do so.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Why we need to change our question so that we can change the result? Because society is continually evolving, and change is inevitable. Agricultural society, we coordinate things, and industrial age, we cooperate, coexist, and then globalization, we communicate. That's the key operative word, communication. But today we are living in age of conceptualization. The collaboration is the key word. We need to collaborate with our community, whole community engagement. And so the people in the community are asking, is your church diversified? Diversified in race and ethnicity, the different worldviews, not one size fits all or all look alike, but are you able to celebrate the differences and able to embrace the differences? So if a church is not diversified, they're not interested. And also they are saying, tell us not all the charts and numbers and figures, tell us how your church made a difference in our community, how your church made a difference in people in our community. If you don't have that story to tell, they said all the charts and numbers and figures, not interest. And also, are you salt and the light of our community? Your Christianity would like to talk about being a salt and the light of the world, but are you making a difference in our local community, our neighbor right now? And are you crying with us? Are you rejoicing with us? Like a sister White said, we need to weep with those who weep and rejoice with the rejoice. So are we part of our community, or we just come to our church once a week and have self-gratifying worship service, holding hands and singing kumbaya, and then go home, and then we don't show up until next Sabbath? That is not what they are looking for. They want people in being part of the community, incarnational, like Jesus moved into our neighborhood. That's the whole concept. And are you having a fun? Sometimes the Christians look very sorrowful, even though we say happy Sabbath, but they look very depressing. I don't know, maybe they need some deep fried fish, or they need to eat more sushi. I don't know what the problem is. People look depressing and sorrowful. That is not good. The Christianity, I mean, Christians are the most exciting people in the whole world. We worship God of the Creator and the Redeemer and the merciful, graceful Judge. So we need to be contagious in that, in a positive way. And what legacy you're trying to leave behind, based on your 5-10 years of last journey and a presence in our community. What's the legacy you're trying to leave in the next 5 years, next 10 years in our community? And have you communicate that with community people, not just growing your church, but enhancing the kingdom of God in our community? Are you teaching Christian values, not do's and don'ts and rules and regulations that's suffocating people, but are you teaching the biblical principles? And then what is your mission? Is your mission institutionalized corporate churchianity, or is that God's missional work and engagement? So that is the current societal expectation. So when we look at our community, we have to look at our community as asset, not the problem in the communities, but resources. I know sometimes, we focus on, problems, high cost of living, corruption in the government, gang activity, illegal drugs, and all that sort of things. But there are still a lot more good people in our community. God has abundantly blessed with the resources in our community that we need to learn to leverage those resources, work together collectively. I mean, when I encountered with a pastor from Tanzania, he taught me this beautiful notion, Ubuntu. He said, it says basically, I am because we are because I am. I love it. I love it. Ubuntu. It has to be collective society, working together to make a difference. So instead of focusing on your church preference, your church program, we need to focus on, what is community priority? What is the most needed service in our community right now that has not been met by any others in the entities in the community? And then, we need to track the community assets. Remember that public sector, private sector, nonprofit sector, and then we need to learn how to leverage the community assets with our resources. Now, this cannot be done by demographic study. Demographic study does not help you with this thing. So you need to interact with the people in the community and conducting a research, talking to public leaders and business people, your community people. What are the challenges in our community? What are the resources in our community? Who are doing what in our community? So we need to figure it out how to connect the dots. So based on that, research, psychographic study, that's what we call, you will develop the programs that can be, not just doing event. I mean, some of us have become seventh-day eventist. We like to do a lots of event. And in fact, we think more events equal more success, but that is not how it works. We need to develop long-term sustainable community development and transformational engagement. So we have to involve diverse community members in key decision-making process. Let's say you are doing teen pregnancy program. And then you're right, you have to invite people from your own community who went through that challenging experience, as a teenager, perhaps dropping out of the high school because of the pregnancy, and how they survived through that difficult journey of life. So you need to involve those individuals as a part of your ministry. Otherwise, how do you know, how to provide ministry for those people? You see, does that make sense to you? And then you got to build mutual respect and trust between the church and community through that interaction. You have to earn your right to share the truth. You have to earn your privilege to share the truth. Does that make sense? Yeah. Otherwise, it's just empty words. The people say, Zig Ziglar, in fact, he said, people do not care how much you know until they know how much you care. So that's what this is. So we have to interact with the people in our community to earn our trust to share the good news of salvation and addressing the issues that are most important to community, not to us, but to community. This is the critical part. You really have to scratch where it itches. I have a friend of mine. Oh my goodness, she was RN, a registered nurse, and did Lamaze class, like baby preparatory class, learn how to breathe, and I had to go through it twice with my wife for that. But anyway, she was doing this in this community A, and had a lot of interaction with the young people going through that pregnancy, and developed a relationship, had a baptized many people from that group. Now she's relocated in this another community, and she shared her experience, the previous experience, with the church members, and all the church members got excited. Wow, let's do that. I think that sounds great. Let's do this. But the problem is this church, new church, where she's relocated, is in the middle of the 55 plus community. 55 plus community. People are not producing babies anymore. Hello. But what's the point of having a baby late, the Lamaze class in this community? See, it doesn't make any sense, right? So we need to provide the service that are relevant and the most needed in our community. That is why I said you got to do a psychographic study. You got to talk to people, and then maximizing participation of and leadership by people living in the community. So again, involving them. We have to figure it out how to involve people who are living in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the self-actualization. They may not have a respect for your religion or your belief and your conviction in Christianity, but they want to contribute. They want to make a difference. They want to add on. So we have to learn how to connect these people with the services that we are providing. Does that make sense? So it's not just to the church, but with community. So jointly learning and discovering together from each other the value of a research for improving and sustaining community development. This is one of the reasons why I said when we have like 5 years of a plan, you have to have every year formative evaluation, every year how our ministry is doing, and then at the end you have to have a summative evaluation for last 5 years, see how we made a difference. And based on that learning, we design next set of 5 years of engagement. But we often don't like to evaluate our programs. We think we are under grace and mercy. We don't need to evaluate our effectiveness and efficiency of ministry. That is why we are not being relevant. That is why we are not dependable and trustworthy, because church tends to do your own thing. So make sure we measure our effectiveness every year, and then change the course of action based on our performance. And then we got to develop this sustainability through the long-term commitment. And then it has to be service learning. I'm going to talk more about this one later, but the ministry has to be in a learning environment. So that like this, giving out food and clothing is a community services, and which is important is relief, right? Giving fish, okay? That's good, that's important. But you also need to be engaged in structural change, advocacy role. How can we end hunger? How can we end the poverty? How can we end domestic violence? Does that make sense? So relief is giving fish is, yes, important, but make sure we are transforming lives. We are educating our people in our community so that we will not have all these abuse and inequities and injustice in our community. So some people need to do relief. It's okay to give out food and clothing. Some people need to do that. And some people, you need to provide individual development, like parenting, substance abuse, and maybe completing high school diploma, and providing an after-school care program. Remember that church that I mentioned, Vancouver? They have adopted a local elementary school. I mean, just a walking distance from the church. And the church members have been providing breakfast for last 20 years. Every day, Monday through Friday, they prepare breakfast for students who are coming to school without having a breakfast. Because some people, don't have financial resources to have a breakfast. The parents are already out there. Mother or father is already out working, early in the morning. So children often come to school without having a breakfast. So they said, we're going to provide breakfast for students. And then they developed a relationship with the teachers. The church members, different small groups in the church, adopted different classrooms. And the teacher said, we really need a new video projector. We really need a new whiteboard. We need some school supplies. The church members putting together financial resources to replace those equipments that they are in need of. And guess what? They develop the relationship with the teacher. They develop the relationship with the children. They develop the relationship with the parents. That's how the church grew. The church grew out of that community engagement, sustainable community development. Does that make sense? So, and then some people need to be involved with the community development. This is where, as I said, church can provide daycare program, after school care program. This is where you are providing, fishing tool. Relief is giving fish, individual development, teaching people how to fish, and community development, providing fishing tools. And structure change is make sure that everyone in the community has an equal opportunity to access that fishing pond. And this is a church that friend of mine, Morella, Oregon, he had about 29 church members in about 20 years ago. Today, over a 1,300 membership church. His church has only three departments. Yeah, three departments: adult, children, and the junior high and high school. That's it. That's all he had. That's the department. That's the ministry, he calls it. But he has 29 different, they call it X29 group, 29 different community outreach ministry. They got adult center, backpack, cancer supporting, grief recovery, divorce, and the marriage counseling. I mean, you name it. They have all these different, community activities going on. That's how the church grew. In fact, the pastor, a friend of mine, he's quite an interesting guy. When that newcomers like to join the church, he says either you join one of these existing 29 ministries, or you create new community outreach ministry based on your passion, competencies, and your spiritual gifts, your track record. You don't want to join one of these 29. You don't want to create your ministry based on your passion and competencies and your spiritual gifts. He said, this is not the church for you. You might want to join another church down the street. He's very adamant about that. And in fact, the median age of this congregation is 32. Young church, yeah, young professionals. They love to be part of this congregation because they know they are making a difference. Does that make sense? Yeah, yeah. So this is why I am very convinced we need to become, when we say, Tim Keller, he said evangelistic means both words and deeds. People have to not only hear the message, but they have to see, touch, feel the message through our lives. And it has to be incarnational. We have to move into our own community neighbor. We have to move into our church community. We need to mingle with the people, every day, not just once a week on Sabbath for a couple of hours. And then when we're interacting with the people throughout the week, we will develop contextual, relevant ministry. And then we will become reciprocal communal church, which means that we are working with the community, not just to the community once a year according to our calendar of events. But it's who we are every day, every week, every month. Many moons ago, I think to some degree we still do this. The modernists, we love to introduce our logical truth, and somehow we will convict them that they are wrong, and then we will convert them into our ism, whatever the ism that we're trying to present. Then when they earn their, right to be part of our salvation team, fellowship, by not eating this, not eating that, or not wearing this, and not, all that sort of thing, then they can join the fellowship. Well, today we are living in postmodern society. This is not respected. We become first friends. We develop trust relationship with people in our community. We have to earn the right and the privilege to share the truth that we have. And through that continuum of the relationship building, life on life evangelism, we begin to influence the Christian values, immoral values, betterment of a life, altogether. And through the continuum of their relationship, life on life evangelism, people are now committing their lives to follow Jesus Christ. Does that make sense? That's where we are today. So if this is what current postmodern society expected of, we need to change our course of action. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
I hope it does. But somehow we had developed this notion, over a century. We need to leave the city and go to mountain and prepare our lives for the second coming of Christ, by working on our character development. And let me tell you something. Ellen G. White talked about this dilemma over 107 articles, and the 24 articles deals with the leave the city, go to the mountain, and the country living. All right, and 80% of that 24 articles deals with the three major counseling. Number one, people with health issue. She said, yeah, city is becoming toxic and in environment, and it's not good for your health. Leave the city. Second, the young family with the little children. Public school system is not really good. So yeah, leave the city and educate them. And then third, city is becoming decadent, temptations everywhere, and people are falling into temptation all the time. So Sister White counseled them, yeah, don't bother with that, leave the city. So that 24 articles, 80% of the time, it was a three, a major counseling for those people. And then 75%, which means, 83 articles out of 107. She said, we have a mission in the city. Did you get that? So many years we focused on 24 articles, leave the city, and ignore 83 articles, we have a mission in the city. So I'm hoping that we need to turn that perspective around. And if you have interested in this, you can read Ellen G. White's compilation Ministry to the Cities later on. I believe we cannot abandon the city and just working on our own salvation. In fact, Dr. John Kellogg, he initiated this urban ministry back in early 1900. He was doing small hospital, clinic, free clinic, soup kitchen, and providing all kinds of a holistic ministry. In fact, physically, mentally, socially, and spiritually. Our church growth it was exponential church growth during that time. And then this Chicago urban ministry influenced San Francisco, what they call it San Francisco Beehive at that time. And they were doing the same thing. They were trying to provide ministries physically, mentally, socially, and spiritually well-being. And during that time, guess what? Church growth also, exploded. So I am very much convinced, when we are trying to, making a difference in our community, making a difference in people's lives, our church will grow. Our church will grow as a byproduct. And this is actually the church in Indiana, faith in a community. 20 years ago, it was a small congregation, and every Wednesday night, a handful of people show up and having a prayer session. And it was a struggling church. I mean, if you have awesome Wednesday night prayer session, church is packed, that's all right. You keep doing it. But this church wasn't that case. Only about half a dozen people more likely to show up. And so pastor said, we need to change our question. Instead of having a prayer session, maybe we need to do something differently. So they decide to go out to the community, asking people, what are the challenges in our community? Well, because this church is middle of the farm community, and the people are financially struggling, most half of the year, in fact. And because of the financial problem, there is a huge, substance abuse and domestic violence. I mean, you name it, one thing leads to another. So they said, we need to do marriage counseling. We need to have a family, worship and the seminars and parenting seminars. They didn't have any expertise in the church, so they invited community people who are subject matter expert in marriage counseling and parenting to provide workshops at the church Wednesday night. And they also provide additional counseling, the issues with the substance abuse and addictions and the abuse and so forth. And they also had a financial management, because some people just don't know how to manage finance well. So they had that, practical financial management workshops and so forth. And they open up the church every day and having a computer class, tutoring and mentoring class, because this is farm community. Some of them don't have access to the internet, don't have access to the computer. So they open up the church and inviting, children to come to church and have a after school program. And of course, because of that continuum of the interaction, and the people are started asking, who is God and what is the Bible, why all this is important. So they started having a basic Bible studies, not just Daniel and Revelation, but they were talking about basic stuff, why religion is important, what is religion, and all that sort of thing. And because of that, over 20 years of interaction, that small congregation is now, over 2,000, almost 3,000 congregation church in that community. Yeah, they changed the community. I mean, they changed the demographic. They changed the the economic status. They worked with the community to build the community center, community school, and it's been just amazing journey. I mean, this is what I'm talking about, being the church, being the salt and the light of our community. I'm going to show you a video clip. This is the Berean Adventist Church in Atlanta, Georgia. Dr. Carlton Bird was the pastor there. Pastor Freddie Russell was pastor there, who is my mentor. And I had a privilege to serve under him for many years. And so watch how this church made a difference. The Berean Church is the largest Adventist church in North America division without being connected to any healthcare institution or universities and whatnot. Does that make sense to you? Yeah, this church is not connected to with those, hospital and education, nothing. But but they are awesome, growing church. Watch this.
Okay, we're still waiting for it to come up, Dr. Kwan.
What was it, sir?
We're still waiting for it to come up. Did you share, screen share?
Oh, okay. Let's see. Let me try again. You let me know if it's working. Is that working?
Not yet.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, you see the screen?
Yes.
All right, let's see. I can do that.
The Berean Seventh-day Adventist Church and Berean Outreach Ministry Center is located in a community of great need, with high unemployment, high returning incarceration rates, and rising food insecurity. With no grocery stores nearby, it sits in a food desert where residents have limited access to affordable, fresh, nutritious foods.
One of the things that we tried to do at Berean was to do a real assessment as to what the core needs were there that are resident in that community, and then trying to be responsive to those individual needs.
We found people within 5-10 blocks of our pantry with no food in their house.
The Berean Church decided to focus their long-standing Adventist Community Services ministry on expanded food distribution.
We received a grant from the Atlanta Food Bank. We were able to get freezers, knock some walls out to create much more physical capacity.
They converted their food pantry to a client choice pantry.
What God showed me was that if I didn't pre-bag, I could stretch the amount of food because people would take the things that they use.
Clients appreciate that the pantry is set up like a grocery store where they can select the items that they need. The center also operates a mobile pantry in partnership with the Atlanta Community Food Bank to bring fresh produce to the community.
It has just exploded in growth from maybe a couple hundred a week, now the 500 to 600 people a week.
In addition to the food ministry, the center begins each distribution day with a community Bible study. They also have a clothes closet where clients can select clothing and household items and a robust homeless ministry.
We have food for the homeless. The way you take it out the pack, it warms itself. So they were pretty excited about that.
The center holds multiple community-wide events throughout the year, including the annual Thanksgiving dinner and the children's Christmas party. The church recognized, however, that they could accomplish even more.
We have partnered with multiple agencies that are doing similar things in the community. So there's a collaborative approach, all connected back to the Berean Church.
Through these partnerships, the Berean Outreach Ministry Center offers health screenings, insurance assistance, legal aid, connections to resources including Medicaid and food stamps, housing programs, job placement, job training programs, and more.
Students who may not be college bound can get a career in 11 to 12 weeks. We have clients who have gone through the program and are now working, and that's a beautiful thing.
The Berean Outreach Ministry Center is thriving, in part due to the dedication of staff and volunteers from the church and community, committed to making a difference.
One of our main goals and mission is to really uplift the quality of life of the community. And our job is not to just sit inside the pews. Our job is to go outside and meet the needs.
God put us all here to help one another.
Just helping. That's my ministry.
The engagement for our members has grown exponentially as they have seen the high impact that this ministry is making on the community.
When I first came here, I didn't have anything but clothes on my back, and people are here to help you and to share with you. This place brings joy to me.
Our schools have engaged as well, where the kids from the Adventist High School come and they volunteer.
It just feels good to be able to help somebody.
To be a helper, be a giver. It feels really good.
Community service allows us to develop relationships first. We have had a numbers of people who get their first connection to our church through community service, and they have become a part of that congregation.
The day I walked into Berean, I could feel the warmth of the people, and I've been here ever since.
So we reach people where they are and we minister to their needs. Then we can beckon them, as God says, follow, and they are more than willing to follow.
If you don't believe in modern day miracles, come by Berean Community Services. You will not leave without knowing that God is still in the miracle working business.
You can make a difference.
Sorry about that. Amen.
Amen.
Any questions so far? I don't mean to, just transferring a lot of information without having an opportunity to digest and have some dialogue. So any questions so far, what I have shared?
Speaks for itself.
Dr. Kwan, I have a question. So
Yes, ma'am.
I see the videos that you're showing, and I guess my just initial gut reaction is, okay, so then what do I do? Where do I even start? So that's where, I commend those people, but then it's just, so where do I even begin?
Oh, excellent question. Let me share my screen once again. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good deal. All right. So as we begin our ministry, we have to have a commitment we will not be church to community, but church with the community. So no matter what we do, we have to intentionally involve people from public sector, private sector, and nonprofit sector. This is why we go out to our community and have a psychographic study. We meet with people in business and government and education and healthcare and media and religion, you name it, and asking people, what are the biggest assets that we have in our community. You ask them simply. We're not going out there to sell our own brand of religion. We are simply going to community as a humble learner and trying to figure it out, what we can do. So first thing that we do is we ask, what are the assets in our community? And my church wants to help with some of the most important needs in our community. What are some of the most important needs that you think might be a good idea for us to focus on? So public sector will tell you differently, and private sector will tell you differently. Nonprofit sector will tell you differently, and so you collect those data, through the interview. Then, what could a church group do? And
Dr. Kwan,
helpful. Yeah.
Sorry to disturb. Are you anticipating that we should be seeing something on the screen right now?
Yes.
Okay,
You're not seeing it?
No, just the black screen we see right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I don't know what happened. Yeah, I was going at it without realizing you are seeing this. Okay, maybe I'll just do this one. Can you see the screen now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so maybe I just use this. So basically, you ask people, what are the biggest assets in our community and how our church could help, those needs that exist in our community. So you begin to share your resources, your competencies, the skill sets, and the resources, tangible, intangible. And then you're trying to create a matching right person for the right position, right church for the right ministry. So then you begin to identify, who are the influential leaders in our community. And like I said, you're not the only vegetarian in the whole community. There are more people out there. So if you have interest in substance abuse, homeless, or teen pregnancy, I am sure that there are others in the community who are providing the services already. So rather than creating or recreating competitive ministry, you need to figure out how to collaborate, how to partnering with existing programs in our communities, you see. So two brains are better than one, isn't it? So we need to figure it out how to connect the dots. So then you probably ask them, like at the end, what do you know anything about our church? And if they said, we don't know anything about your church, or they say, oh, aren't you a kind of Jehovah's Witness? Well, then there you go. You have opportunity to share the differences and so forth. So you need to be a humble learner as we engage our community. And then this is the service learning component that I like to share with you briefly. So let's say our Pathfinder group that goes out providing a service, cleaning up the riverbank, picking up the trash, picking up the empty broken bottles and plastic bottles and so forth. That's what we call relief. That's good. That's good. But we also need to add the learning part of it. So bring a water sample to the church and study that water sample on the microscope. That is individual development. That's learning, right? And then third, service learning, which is community development. This is where you develop documentation, the result of your findings, how the water condition is look like, and print together a report and submit it to your pollution control agency. That's a service learning. Okay, and then that's a community development. And the last one is a structure change. We call it critical service learning, which means that your Pathfinder group now becoming a change agent. So they are trying to educate people in the community, why this toxic river is not good for our community, our health. Why our children playing in the river getting a skin disease? Why we cannot eat this fish out of this river? You educate people, and then you educate people how to change, how to prevent this toxic environment, how to have a healthier living condition so that children can play in the river without getting sick and catching fish for dinner. You see, so we as a Pathfinder group is not just picking up trash once in a while, but we become change agent, difference maker. So we create a campaign. We initiate, community transformation engagement. That's how we start. That's how we do things. But oftentimes we just like to do the same thing over and over and over again. So as you go out to your community, you identify different types of needs. Okay, it could be health, it could be education, it could be immigration, it could be youth at risk, whatever that is. So that's what we call external analysis. But when you come back to your church, you got to do internal analysis. You have to identify what is our passion as a church, collective passion. What is our church known for? Is our church known for a health message? Is it known for domestic violence? Is that known for family ministry? What is that known passion that represents our church? And then what are the competencies that we have, the skill set? Like I mentioned earlier, we had a Korean Adventist church, the 25 church members, dentists. So they had a passion for healthcare, and they had competencies. They have a nurse, they have a hygienist, they have a dentist. So they decide to put together a dental clinic because they have the resources. They can bring skill set, they can bring tangible dental chair, dental equipment, and so forth. So they have matched their passion, competencies, and resources with dental needs in the community. Does that make sense? So that's what you got to do. You have to study your community, study your congregation, and a match. Why all that is necessary? Because when you demonstrate your value, in the community as a kingdom builder, you are demonstrating your value as collaborator and partnering with the existing ministries and others and so forth, you will begin to develop trust relationship. And based on that relationship, you demonstrate your capacity, by measuring, remember that, effectiveness and efficiency, formative evaluation and summative evaluation, which is in my book, chapter 5. You demonstrate capacity tangibly, recognizably, visibly. So we're not just talking about capacity, but you are actually demonstrating it, okay? So when you demonstrate your value, demonstrate your capacity, guess what? Support happens as a byproduct. Remember that church in Vancouver? Yeah, the community people donated 90% of the expenditures rebuilding homes. Yeah, because they have seen the values and the capacity of the church, the Berean church, and all the local food bank and the other grocery stores beginning to donate their stuff to the church because Berean church has demonstrated their values and their capacity. So before you ask support from the community, you have to really earn your right. You see, you have to demonstrate your commitment first. When you do that, then the support will happen. In terms of how, I'm going to share with you something. This might be actually beneficial because I'm a hit and run specialist. So I would encourage your church members take some course. This is a free, you don't have to pay for. It is at the Adventist Learning Community platform. You can just Google it. And there are course that we have prepared, Adventist Community Services. It's in English, French, Spanish, and Portuguese. There are 15 modules. There are modules that dealing with the theology, and modules that dealing with the program development, including fundraising, grant writing, proposal writing, risk management. I mean, this is very comprehensive 15 modules that you will be greatly benefited by. And each module has video presentations and the PowerPoint and the video scripts. Yeah, so you can actually take this information and study individually, and you can come together as a group and review together. Yeah, that's how it was designed, and it's all free. So I would strongly encourage you to take this course. You get a 2.0 CEU, continuing education unit, if you need that. So type Community Services and Urban Ministry Certification Program at ALC, Adventist Learning Community. Pastor Ferguson, do you see that screen, sir?
I do.
Okay, good. Yeah, so.
And I'm familiar with this.
Okay.
As a result of our contact, and I know how to access this.
Awesome. Awesome. Great. I would strongly encourage. And then if some of you like to have more advanced learning, we have actually contracted with the Great Courses. This is the best online learning platform in the whole world. And we have identified 3 courses in IQ, academic leadership development, and 3 courses in emotional intelligence, EQ development, and 3 social intelligence, conflict management and communication and problem solving and so forth. And then cultural intelligence development. So usually you have to pay each course over $200, but we have, like I said, made a contract with the Great Courses that you pay only $25. Yeah, it's a 90% discount. And each a course has 24 lectures, and each lecture is about 30 minutes long presentation. So this is quite substantial. So invest. I know going to McDonald's once in a while is important. I get it, but skip maybe once or twice and use that money to buy this program. So instead of a couple $100, you pay like $25 for those 24 lecture courses. And you can actually print out the certificate. So you come to Community Services website and click Education, and then you will see 4Q Leadership Development. And he has all the detailed information about each course and how many CEU. You get like 3 CEU for each one. And then how you access. Basically, you just put your name and email address. You can put North American Division. You'll be Atlantic Union, and then Allegheny East or whatever conference here, and then your church name, and then you click submit, and then you will receive email from the office how to access to that courses. Where to go and pay and buy and all that kind of stuff. So this is very useful tool. I would encourage you to consider taking it. I think you'll be greatly benefited by. Any other question? Very good question. Good question. Any other question or comments?
All right, was that helpful for you, Erica, in terms of the critical question? Because I view that it was a quite critical question on how do you get started. Was that helpful at all?
Yeah, that was helpful. I do have a follow-up, Dr.
Sure.
So does ACS provide any assistance to churches in trying to learn what the needs are in the local community? Is there a way to get a consultant to help you,
Oh, no, not that sort of support, but part of our module, in fact, module 3 and 4, educate you how to do the interviews and how to reach out to the community for that psychographic study. And we even have actually sample questionnaire that you want to utilize and so forth. So you can download those templates from that Adventist learning community. But we do not provide direct, technical support. ACS does not. But what you can do, you can actually work with the local university sociology department. Maybe you can actually have an internship program. Maybe contact Washington Adventist University, and they have a social work department. If you have a church member with MSW, Master in Social Work, they can be the supervisor for practicum over the summer, and they can come and do those studies. But my conviction is, rather than relying on third-party research, I want every single your church member to be involved in this, because at the end of the day, you have to develop relationship with your own community people. So this is why I don't get all that excited about demographic studies that prepared by some other groups. It's you have to be out there. You have to connect with the people face to face. You need to exchange names and do the handshakes and all the chicken dance that you need to do. So, so you need to be involved. So maybe your church group, divide them into a different professional groups, subgroups. So people who are working in public sector, government, you can create your own cluster, and then you meet with the people in government sector. If you have church members that are working in education, then you create that subgroup and focusing on relationship building with the educational institution. If you have any healthcare professionals, you work with those group of people reaching out to the business people in the community. Does that make sense to you? Because you don't want to send pastor to the hospital. Pastor doesn't speak their language, so it's mismatch. So make sure you send someone who can understand the language, who can relate to the people. That's why the right person for the right position. So if you have church members that are working in the media, they should be the one going out to the local community, cable TV and the radio station or broadcasting and talking to them about challenges and resources. Does that make sense? So yes, I do understand the value of a demographic. I do understand the value of the those research data, but I am convinced, unless you are out there physically, in person, knocking the doors and talking to the people, you will never build relationship between the church and the community. So sweat equity is an inevitable, requirement. You have to engage, invest time, invest resource. I know some of you are saying, I don't have time to do this kind of stuff. Well, make a time. We are disciple first, then nurse. Disciple first, then teacher. Disciple first, then a carpenter. Disciple first, whatever. Does that make sense? So don't ever confuse yourself. We are here to build the kingdom of God. We are disciple first. So don't ever come up with the excuse, I don't have time and I don't live in this community, all that stuff. That to me, that's excuse. So committed yourself, committed, I wish I can show you this. Just imagine there was a chicken and the pig, preparing a breakfast. And the chicken said, I can contribute. I can lay the egg and provide the, nice sunny side up, the egg for the breakfast. So, okay, chicken is involved, definitely. But the pig, in order to provide the bacon, pig has to sacrifice. Pig has to die in order to provide the bacon for the breakfast. You see the difference? Chicken is involved, pig is committed. We need church members who are committed. we cannot have just chickens in the church. We need to have pigs. I'm not saying you need to become a pig, but you need to be committed disciples, who will make a difference in this whole engagement. Does that make sense?
Yes, Dr. Kwan, if you could touch just a little bit on perhaps no resources available in that area, but are there certain material and financial resources that are available through the division down to the conference, out to the local church?
Oh yeah, definitely, sir. Those the 15 modules that I mentioned to you, the certification program, definitely outstanding resource. We worked on that over 15 years to finalizing and fine tuning it. And it's, in my humble opinion, it's excellent curriculum. So take some time. We have to educate people. Educated people will change the world. We cannot change the world without being educated. I'm not just talking about formal education, but informal education. So make sure we invest some time and to go through that 15 modules. Individually, you can learn. Then every other Sabbath, maybe you come together and then just review each module together. What have you learned and how we're going to apply this thing into our practice and so forth. So learning, it has to be a journey that embedded into this whole community transformation. And the second thing is, North American Division, ACS, has a $10,000 grant application on the website. You can actually apply for it through the conference. So you can download that information from the ACS website and review the criteria. But in short, ACS does not support eventful program. One-time event, you want to do some weekend health fair, so you need the money. You got to pay from your own pocket. So, but ACS grant is there to support long-term sustainable engagement. And part of that, you have to fill out the logic model, which is a very important part of the whole experience, engagement, the journey. So you can actually read more about it on the website, on the resource. So that's good. Good question.
Dr. Kwan, that brings us to the closing hour.
Oh.
And I only mention that because I try to remain faithful to the membership. A great question. We'll close with that one.
Sure.
The application for those local community services funds, is there any way that grant application can be made to service our schools in any way?
Oh, I mean, that the content of the application, you can use it many different ways. I mean, you will see it when you apply for, you can use it anyway, but that education cannot apply for this ACS grant. The ACS grant is strictly for ACS ministries.
All
but
right.
If you have like service learning, that the ACS ministry working with the school and trying to work with that service learning component. Remember what I mentioned to you, Pathfinder, going out to the picking up trash, but creating, a campaign to educate people. That is possible because it's a partnership, but it has to be initiated by the ACS ministry, working with education.
All right. Thank you very much. Again, church family, I knew that we would be richly informed. Dr. Kwan does not like to use the term training. Because he says dogs are trained and humans are equipped. And so we have, you didn't think I remembered that, right?
Amen, sir. Amen. So that's it. Yeah.
So
we educate people.
Yeah. Yes, educating. And so I think we have been richly informed, richly educated. The stimulation has been great in terms of giving us samples out there and challenging us, really it's challenging and stretching us. How now do we begin to find our niche as a church family, and how do we match that niche to felt community needs, and then how do we back that up with committed community and church partners, faith-based partners. So Doc, your job is completed here today, at least for this phase of it. I am so grateful that I have you as a resource, and please do look for a future opportunity when we can come back again. So I'm going to ask Sister Carolyn Jackson. I know that you have had lots of experience in outreach services to the nursing home. I think you've been involved in community services out there. So I'm going to ask you to pray us out, if you don't mind. Can you hear me? All right.
Our kind loving Father in heaven, once again, we count it a privilege and an honor to be able to talk with you and to study your word and learn more about what's going on in the world and how we can get out and do our service to win more souls for you. We thank you for the message that has been delivered to us today, and Lord, that it will continue to go further. We ask that you bless each and every family that was on here today, representing you, and that we continue to work together and share the love that we have with each other that you have given to us. Continue to bless those that are traveling to and fro, taken to their various destinies safely, Lord, and return them back in the same manner that they left them. Keep us all ever in your care and never let us turn away from thee. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Well, thank you, sir. And thank everyone for the opportunity.
Yes.
We'll see you again soon.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Quan. Okay, church family, if you don't have any further questions for me, or if you have ones that you would like to direct to me personally in response to what we have seen and heard today, you can send me out an email. You can contact Katrina, and she will share with me your questions, and I will try to do my best to respond. All right. Please enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and God bless you. All right. Any questions?
God bless you too.
Thank you so much. Okay. All right. Now, I guess all of those persons have gone. Katrina, do you know, are we supposed to join the investiture for the Pathfinders?
I wasn't made aware of that, Pastor, so I don't think so, because I think theirs is going on concurrently with Elder Tross is probably working on that. I mean, with them now, so I don't think so.
Is that and that's conference, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so they cover their own. Okay, right. Thank you very much, everybody. Blessings, all righty?
All right.
Blessings.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye. All right. Take care.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Blessings all. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye now.
See you, Tree.
Bye, Uncle Bubba's.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so they cover it all. Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Uncle Bubba's? Uncle Bubba's?
I think he's gone, Sister Joyce.
Go. Hey, how you doing?
Hi, how are you, honey? Hey,
Good.
Bill, how are you?
Hey, how's Carol?
She's tired, but she's all right.
Yeah, I saw her on this morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, ever since they told her that her levels was low for kidneys, she been just worrying or something different about that. But the doctor called and told her that they have come up some.
Okay. Yeah.
Hopefully that she'll stop worrying. So.
Right. Okay, I'll give her a call.
Yeah.
Okay. Take care.
Jan Allen, where are you at?
Your face.
What was that? Joyce. Jan is Howland, where are you?
I'm home. Where I'm supposed to be.
I don't see.
Huh?
I'll see you next week.
She's leaving now.
Huh?
She was up there saying she don't see you, but she maybe should see. Now the face is on there, Sharon.
No.
She said, I'm going now. She's going out the door.
Where's she going?
Sharon Lisa's going someplace.
Oh, okay.
I think they're supposed to be going over to my niece's house.
Oh, okay.
my niece Tracy.
Right. Okay. Have a good one.
Yeah. How's Bill doing?
Good.
That's good.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah. Just keep them folks in your prayers, Mary and Carol. Because Mary wasn't feeling good either, but keep them in your prayers.
Yeah, all of us, right.
Yeah, she said her back was bothering her.
Okay.
And of course, Carol's there.
Right.
Just feel tired all the time.
Yeah. Okay. She sleep now?
In there on a chair.
Resting. Oh, okay.
She's in the room on a chair.
Okay, I'll give her a call. All right. Take care.
Honey. I love you. Take care of yourself.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Deeply. Let's see. Hi, Neil. How are you?
Go ahead. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Your husband's good?
Yeah, he's fine.
That's great.
What are y'all doing?
Huh?
What are y'all doing now?
Well, I'm getting ready to sign off because they said everything is over with.
Oh, okay.
How's Gwen doing?
Oh, she's fine. Yeah.
That's good.
What about your family? How yours?
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm on a meeting. They hear me.
Okay. So take care here. Love you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, Jose.
Hey, you gonna say some stuff too?
Do I need to say something? Oh yeah, I could say something. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll say something. I'll turn it over to you. Say a couple things.
Okay.
Okay.